Empathy engines, mirror systems, theory of mind, and prediction. Get this, they actually thought the motor system just moved muscles. Then someone reached for a cup, and in a macaque's premotor cortex a neuron fired. Later, a researcher reached for the same cup, and the very same neuron fired while the monkey sat still. That was the first hint of a mirror system. Populations in premotor and parietal cortex that map what we see onto what we can do. It's not mind reading. It's a translation layer, vision into action codes. So your brain can understand a gesture by rehearsing it internally. Now remember, this is the low level of empathy. If I watch you grasp, my inferior parietal lobule and ventral premotor areas resonate. If I hear your voice crack, my insula stirs with the bodily feel of that sound. These echoes don't write content into my head, but they give me a scaffold, a running simulation of what it would take to do what you're doing. That's why yawns spread. That's why you wince when a teammate stubs a toe. The body is the first decoder, but mirroring can't carry the whole load. To understand why you reached for the cup, because you're thirsty, because you're stalling, because the cup hides a key, I need a different tool, a model of your mind. Enter the theory of mind network. The right temporoparietal junction helps me carve out your beliefs from my own. The medial prefrontal cortex weighs intentions against values. Posterior cingulate and temporal poles bring biography and context. Together, these regions let me simulate not just how but why. Here's where prediction clicks in. The brain saves energy by guessing the next frame and correcting errors. Socially, that means I forecast your next move. If my model is good, your actions arrive as confirmations, not surprises. You take a breath, my motor system primes to pause. You look left, my attention swings before your words. The better my priors about you, the less work I do decoding. That lower cost feels like fluency. Meanwhile, mirror systems and theory of mind talk. Watch a hand hover over two objects and the mirror circuit prepares two action plans. The TPJ biases the choice by inferring goal. In a smooth exchange, those loops settle quickly. Action possibilities collapse as intention clarifies. On EEG and FNIRS, we see the signature as fewer mismatches, tighter phase locking in temporal and frontal sites. In the room, we feel it as less explaining, more knowing. Therapy makes this visible. Experienced therapists show stronger coupling with clients in the right TPJ and medial PFC, the very nodes that juggle self and other. It's not because they're psychic, it's practice at running cleaner internal models with warmer priors. In that safety, clients risk more disclosure, which sharpens the model further. A virtuous loop forms. Better predictions, fewer ruptures, deeper alignment. Teaching runs a similar loop. A skilled teacher senses when a student's motor mirroring says, "I can do this," while their value map says, "Why should I?" So the teacher shifts the story, not the steps, to align goals, classic ventromedial prefrontal work. At those moments, hyperscanning shows synchrony spikes across the class, especially when a key idea lands. The lesson isn't magic. It's the brain's preference for shared models and predictable payoffs. There's a catch. If my model is wrong, prediction turns into projection. I might assign my motives to you, mistake sarcasm for sincerity, or smooth over a rupture I should confront. The same empathy engines that grease understanding can also hide bias. That's why deliberate perspective-taking matters. Ask, check, revise. What would a win look like for you? Is a theory of mind calibration in plain English. What nobody knew at the time is how much the body helps keep these engines in tune. When our rhythms align, breath, pulse, the timing of nods, the mirror system reads cleaner signals, and the theory of mind network makes fewer costly corrections. Rhythm reduces noise. Reduced noise boosts prediction. Put two people on the same beat, and the empathy engines idle lower and run smoother. Now for the practical part. If you want to build this on purpose, do three things. First, tune your mirror. Watch hands, eyes, breath. Let your motor system quietly echo without overdoing it. Second, surface the goal. Ask for the value map and say yours out loud, so the ventromedial calculators can align. Third, keep a revision loop. Test your read with small questions and treat surprises as data, not threats. In other words, let your empathy be predictive, but keep it corrigible. This is the non-mystical core of what people call mind-to-mind. A stack of simulations, bodily, intentional, value-based, that allow two nervous systems to meet halfway. When they're well-tuned, talk shrinks and meaning expands. When they're misaligned, words multiply and land short. And in those rare moments when a spike syncs across screens, it's usually these engines catching the same beat, not a silent message crossing the air. The outliers file: twins, crises, and jolts. Every field has a drawer it doesn't open on camera. In ours, it's labeled outliers, stories that don't fit cleanly into Synchrony, mirror systems, or brain-to-brain rigs. Not proof, not nothing. Cases that scratch at the edge of what coupling and prediction can explain. Start with twins. Ask around, and you'll hear versions of the same scene. One twin, miles away, drops a glass and gasps, the exact minute the other fractures a wrist. Another wakes at 3:12 a.m., heart hammering, and texts, "Are you okay?" The reply arrives hours later. "Car hit me. I'm fine." When researchers comb these reports, they're stuck with two problems: memory that edits to fit a story, and baselines we rarely record. How many missed pings did we forget? Yet even through that noise, something repeats. The trigger is often sudden pain or fear, and the receiver is not a stranger, but someone whose rhythms have been practiced together since the womb. Shared clocks laid down early can make attention snap to a loved one's channel when arousal spikes. That's not telepathy. It's a sentinel system tuned by years of coupling that flares when the other's state likely changed. The timing chills us because we rarely log the misses. Only the hits tattoo themselves. Crises throw another kind of jolt. A spouse dies at home. A son across town stops mid-sentence and can't say why. A mother in a grocery line feels a wave of dread so strong she leaves the cart and calls, learning her toddler just had a seizure. Labs can't schedule those events, so the best we have are forensic looks. Phone records, wearable heart data, timestamps. In rare cases with data, you see coincident spikes, heart rate surges, galvanic skin responses, inside a window around the event. It doesn't mean a signal jumped skulls. It can mean the receiver's nervous system was close to threshold and a small cue, an unrecognized sound, a lapse in expected text cadence, even a subtle change in the texture of a quiet house pushed it over. Crises break patterns. Pattern-hungry brains notice broken patterns first, then backfill meaning. The story hardens into "I knew." The physiology shows "I was ready to notice." Then there are the jolts that look like content, not just timing. The word on the tip of your tongue that your friend says aloud before you say it. The drawing your kid makes that matches the picture you had in your head. In the telepathy tapes cases, non-speaking autistic children match numbers, colors, even words their parents are viewing behind a petition. When filmmakers tighten controls, new devices, blindfolds, petitions, randomized stimuli, hit rates sometimes stayed far beyond chance. Critics argue subtle cueing, ideomotor effects, or facilitator influence. Families counter with sessions where touch was removed and accuracy remained. The honest scientist's stance is uncomfortable. Demand airtight tests, blind randomization, error-proof logging, independent replication, while refusing to call parents liars when their lived data won't fit our models. Meanwhile, note something the parents say that echoes our core theme. The strongest effects show up inside bonds, in rooms thick with trust, when regulation is shared and language is hard. Those are the exact conditions where hidden metronomes and empathy engines run hottest. A low-level channel, breath, microsounds, posture, tiny timing cues, could account for more than we think when the receiver's prediction machine is exquisitely tuned to the sender. We also keep a folder for machine jolts, those mind-reading demos that work too well. A decoder trained on one person's brain reconstructs words another person hears. A classifier trained on heard speech starts to sketch imagined speech. It looks like the machine is reading thoughts. It's not. It's reading probability, the structure of language and shared timing. Still, as the models improve, their guesses feel uncanny, converging on the semantic neighborhood of what you meant. Outliers become prototypes. Today's "that's weird" becomes tomorrow's tool. Here's the rule we carry into this drawer. If a claim needs the air gap to be a channel, we treat it like a story and ask for design. If a claim thrives inside the scaffolding we already trust, rhythm, prediction, shared goals, we push methods until either the anomaly shrinks into the mechanism or the mechanism expands to fit the anomaly. Either way, outliers do their job. They force us to see where our map is still too small. Testing the impossible, gold standard protocols. If we're going to test claims that live in the air gap, we have to build rooms where only one thing can move. The signal we say exists. That means protocols that don't just look strict, they survive hostile scrutiny. Here's how a gold standard design works when the claim is mind-to-mind beyond ordinary senses. First, pre-registration. Before anyone meets a family, before a camera turns on, the full plan is locked in a time-stamped registry. Hypotheses, primary outcomes, sample sizes, stopping rules, analysis code. No peeking and tweaking. If the claim is a child can identify 5-digit numbers viewed only by a parent, write that down first. Commit to what counts as success, to error thresholds, to how you'll handle misses, to what will falsify the claim. Pre-registration doesn't make an effect real. It makes our interpretation honest. Second, randomization and blinding with machines, not people. Use hardware random number generators, seeded by physical noise, not pseudo-random sequences. Generate stimuli at showtime, not the day before. A tablet behind a partition displays an unpredictable target. The device logs the exact time and content to a secure file the child can't see. Staff on both sides are blind to the selection. The parent sees the target, the experimenters and any facilitators do not. Better, the sender and receiver are separated, sight, sound, touch cut entirely. If touch is part of a child's regulation, build 2 phases. One with touch to establish a baseline, one without to test the channel. Treat touch like a variable, not a loophole. Third, airtight sensory controls. The room is swept for reflective surfaces and camera lenses. Partition seams are sealed. Microphone arrays record both spaces so post-hoc analysts can flag any audible cueing. Eye tracking on both sender and receiver helps detect covert signaling. Glances to timing cues, head tilts in patterns. If a blindfold is used, validate it. Put it on skeptical adults and document that they can't read light or high contrast shapes. Better, eliminate blindfolds and rely on physical separation plus cameras to prove isolation. Fourth, automation and cryptographic logging. Every trial is time-stamped at the millisecond level. The randomizer writes the target to an encrypted log the researchers can't alter. The receiver's response is entered on a separate device that also timestamps entries. A third system reconciles the 2 logs after the session. That way, no one can correct a near miss or fudge a late guess into a hit. If the child spells or points, overhead cameras record letterboards and hands with synchronized clocks, so independent raters can transcribe without trusting the on-site team. Fifth, pre-registered error models and decoys. Build in law trials. Distractor words or numbers the parent privately believes the child will pick, to test whether the receiver reads the parent's expectations rather than the actual target. Include control blocks where the parent views no target at all while believing they do, to test for generic cue taking. If performance stays high only when a real target exists and drops to chance in decoy blocks, the effect is sharper. If it stays high in decoys, you're measuring something else, perhaps subtle cueing, perhaps shared routines. Sixth, independent replication with hostile expertise. Invite methodologists who disagree to help design and stand in the room. Put an adversarial collaboration on paper. Skeptics pick some controls, proponents pick others, both agree on what would count as success. Share raw, de-identified data and video with an outside lab that repeats the experiment with new families, new rooms, new stuff. The first run doesn't prove anything. The second, in someone else's hands, starts to. Seventh, statistics that respect base rates. If the alphabet is large, chance hits are rarer. If it's binary, they're common. Predefine the alphabet size and the scoring rule. Correct for multiple comparisons if you test many targets. Use Bayesian analyses alongside frequentist p-values to quantify evidence for or against an effect, not just declare significant or not. Report misses as prominently as hits. Plot performance across time to catch drifts, learning, fatigue, alignment. If there's a genuine channel, it should survive stricter scoring. Eighth, physiological and timing covariates. Record respiration, heart rate variability, and motion in both rooms. If accuracy spikes only when rhythms align or when the sender's arousal surges, that supports a synchrony-based pathway rather than a content broadcast. If accuracy stays high when physiological coupling is low and sensory channels are sealed, that's more interesting. Either way, physiology helps discriminate mechanisms. Finally, ethics and respect. These protocols are demanding. Build regulation supports that don't leak information. Noise-blocking headphones with white noise, weighted blankets, familiar objects neutral to the task. Schedule short blocks with clear breaks. Get assent where possible. Families aren't lab equipment, they're partners. Run all that, and one of two things happens. Performance collapses to chance, and the story moves back into synchrony and skill. Still beautiful, just not beyond. Or accuracy stays well above chance across labs, phases, and controls. Then the burden shifts from, is it real? To what is the channel? That's how impossible claims graduate. Not by conviction, but by design. That keeps only the signal alive. Everyday coupling, classrooms, stages, and squads. While that lab rig hums in the background, the real proving ground is Messier. Classrooms that buzz, stages that thrum, squads that move as one. This is where synchrony either helps or fails under pressure. Start with a teacher who knows when a room leans in. She doesn't have electrodes, but her nervous system is reading the same, tells our sensors would. Head angles drifting the same way, pencils pausing together, a shared exhale when the idea lands. In FNIRS labs, those moments show spikes of coherence between teacher and students, especially over temporal regions when a tricky concept resolves. In life, she feels the click and keeps going, pacing her cadence to the class's breath. When she rushes, eyes scatter. When she lifts a pause, attention recoheres. She isn't reading minds. She's regulating clocks. Good classrooms are rhythm machines. Bell schedules force a tempo, but inside the period, teachers create micrometronomes, call and response, think, pair, share, a beat of silence before a key reveal. Each tactic lowers uncertainty. The room's physiology follows. Respiration slows, heart variability rises, chatter smooths. You can feel the coupling run like a current along rows. Even group work reflects valuation alignment. When a project has a clear, what counts as success, students' ventromedial calculators converge. Unclear goals splinter the value map, and synchrony drops with it. Now walk with a touring band as soundcheck ends, and the house fills. A great show isn't just tight playing. It's two nervous systems, the crowd as one body, the singer as another, finding phase. The beat is the obvious metronome, but the real engine is prediction. Verses set up a chorus. Lights cue a drop. Everyone rehearses the next bar a half second early. When the singer cuts the band on a dime, 30,000 lungs hold at once. On EEG caps in a lab, you'd see alignment at the beat frequency plus harmonics in auditory and motor regions. On stage, the singer senses the breath and teases time, widening and snapping a phrase to whip arousal and release it together. It's choreography of expectation. The band also manages safety at scale. Between songs, the front person lowers shoulders, slows speech, smiles wide. Simple autonomic cues that downshift a massive amygdala. With threat down, prefrontal prediction comes back online, and the next build lands cleaner. That's not woo. It's craft that rides the same physiology a therapist uses, just louder. If the room turns tense, the band will carve a steady pulse under the noise and let people's chests match it. The crowd thinks it's the song. It's really the clock. Squads live on clocks too. A fire crew drills a doorway breach until body positions and glances carry more than words. An offense practices 2-minute drills, so cadence and route depth become one picture. In hyperscanning studies, teammates show higher interbrain synchrony than strangers during coordination tasks, especially when roles are clear. You can watch a point guard look off a defender while a wing cuts, both brains simulating the same lane before the pass leaves the hand. It reads like telepathy because the model is shared and the timing is tuned over months. Military units formalize this into doctrine. Marching isn't just ceremony, it's entrainment. Footfalls at the same tempo create a base rhythm that carries through planning and action. In briefings, leaders use the same phrases, the same hand marks, the same pause before execute. Those habits reduce cognitive load, so prediction can ride structure. Under stress, the squad's breath shortens. A savvy leader slows speech anyway, lending a comma metronome. Radios stay clipped not because minds are connected, but because the air gap wastes time unless the clocks are tight. Look behind a comedy set that kills. It's timing, sure, but it's also micromirroring. The comic lifts a brow, the room leans. The setup plants a model. The punchline violates it with just enough distance to flip surprise into laughing relief. You can feel the crowd's model update in a wave. The best comics surf that wave, stacking violations that stay within the group's shared map. When the map breaks, wrong room, wrong bit, synchrony fractures and the silence feels colder than a lab. In all these places, music turns out to be the great solvent. Teachers who play a soft track during written work often see fewer ruptures. Coaches who hum a count in the huddle keep cadence through noise. Theatre rehearsals start with breathing in unison, not for mystique, but because ensemble scenes collapse without a common clock. Even a Zoom meeting can borrow rhythm. One facilitator speaking steadily, another noting breath, adding a beat before opening the floor. It's not slickness, it's structure. We should name the failure modes too. A room can march in lockstep toward a bad idea. Synchrony amplifies whatever value map it's given. In classrooms, that can look like groupthink. On stage, like mob energy. In squads, like obedience past the point of sense. The cure isn't to strip rhythm. It's to keep the revision loop alive. Questions that break cadence on purpose to test the model. What would make this wrong is a synchrony interrupt that saves teams. So when we say everyday coupling, we're not talking about a party trick. We mean a set of levers. Tempo, shared goals, predictive structure, regulated threat. That teachers, performers, and teams pull to make many brains behave like one system for a while. It's learnable. It travels. And it's the honest heart of what people keep calling telepathy. Quantum temptations. What physics does and doesn't offer. Here's where the story flirts with a word that lights up comment sections. Quantum. People hear entanglement and jump straight to lovers finishing each other's sentences across continents. The temptation is strong because entanglement is real and strange. Two particles born together can show correlated outcomes even when separated by miles, and no classical signal seems to pass between them. If matter can keep a hidden tie, why not minds? Now remember, entanglement isn't a hotline for messages. It's a constraint on correlations set at preparation. When you measure here and there, the results line up beyond classical rules, but you can't use that lining up to send information. No receiver can tell, from their side alone, what you chose. The paradox dissolves when you respect the math. Statistics match only when both sides compare notes after the fact. That kills the cinematic idea of remote thoughts beamed by quantum love. What nobody knew at the time, when quantum metaphors first invaded coffee shops, was how much that language would obscure the simpler story. Timing, rhythm, shared goals. Still, there are serious physicists poking at edges that sound like mind science. Some labs report quantum coherence in warm, wet biology, avian navigation, photosynthesis, systems that maintain delicate quantum states long enough to matter. Others speculate about microtubules or long-range coherence in cortex. It's intriguing. It's not consensus. And crucially, none of it shows non-local information transfer in brains. You'll see flashy headlines. Quantum entanglement in brain waves. Dig into the methods, and you often find synchronized inputs or common timing driving the effect. Put two people on the same beat, show them the same flicker, and their signals will correlate. That's not spooky action. That's shared metronomes, the same ones we've been following through breath, heart, and rhythm. If a study can't rule out common causes and sensory coupling, entanglement is a costume on ordinary coordination. There's another thread, fields we can actually push. Transcranial magnetic stimulation and alternating current stimulation can nudge phase and perception because we pump energy orders of magnitude above what a neighbor's head emits.